this particular story that I've learned is in many, many versions in the Irish storytelling tradition, but it's from a book by James Stephens called Traditional Irish Fairy Tales, and always love to plug that I find my stories in books, if indeed I do. Well, there's many stories told about Finn McCool. He was a great Irish hero. And when he was a boy, they say he was hidden away because his father had been murdered by another clan, and he had been leader of the Ardrí, the High Kings, Fianna, the great soldier troop that was highly skilled and highly educated. To be a king's soldier, you need to be well educated. So when he was murdered, the little baby was hidden away, his son, for fear that someone would try to take his life. Some say he was reared by his granny, who told him all the old Irish stories. Some say that he was reared by 2 women warriors who taught him all the skills he would need to be able to take his father's place someday. But wherever he was reared as a small boy, eventually he knew he had to find his way to a poet teacher. And when he was a young man, he found his way to the Boyne River, where Finnegas, a famous poet, lived. Now, Finnegas was very old by this time of his life, and when young Finn, who didn't go by the name Finn when he was out in the world for fear of his heritage being recognized too soon, he went by Demna as his name. When he came and saw Finnegas, he saw what an old man he was, and he was down by the river looking as if he were trying to catch a fish, but not doing very well. And the boy came up, "Can I help you, sir?" And the man said, "Oh, I do need help. I've been trying to catch this fish for the longest time." "One fish? A particular fish? How long have you been trying?" 7 years now. 7 years. And how do you know this fish is here?" "Oh, it's a prophecy. It's a prophecy, for my name is Finnegas, and someone whose name has Finn in it will eat this magic fish, the salmon of knowledge." "A salmon of knowledge?" the boy said. And where would he get his knowledge if he's a fish?" "Oh, from eating the acorns that drop from the magical tree in some hidden pool down along the Boyne. We've never found the tree, but we know those acorns are there. Maybe only the fairies know. And when the fish eats the acorns, all the wisdom of the world fills the fish, and I'm going to be the one to eat that fish, and I'll have all the wisdom in the world." Now, this was a boy who knew he had a destiny, and the idea of having all the wisdom in the world was very exciting. But for a time, he simply lived with the old man, and he began to learn stories and poems and genealogies and all the thing that the old man did teach him. And he came to love the old man dearly, dearly. He helped him keep his house and helped him fish as often as he could. And sure enough, one day, they pulled that fish together up onto the bank. And Finnegas' heart was pounding in his chest. He couldn't believe they finally done it. "Oh, boy, you've been such a help to me. Now you build the fire, and I'm going to rest, because I want to take the wisdom of the world in me with a clear and open mind and a rested spirit." And the boy was happy to help. He set the fire ever so carefully. He watched the flames rise. He built a spit so they could lay this giant fish across the flames. And then so carefully he turned it. And he thought truly by this point that he wanted that teacher of his to have all that wisdom, and that he was simply a part of this magical experience. And he turned the fish, and he turned the fish. But oh, the flames were so high and so hot it was starting to bubble, and the boy wanted it to be just perfect for his teacher. So as he saw one great big bubble coming up, he popped it with his thumb, and sucked his thumb because it was so burned. But his shout woke his teacher, who came running out, and both of them knew Finn knew because something inside of him completely changed, as if his eyes were open to understandings he'd never had. And Finnegas, he looked at the boy, and he knew just from the way his eyes were gleaming with light. What did you say your name was, boy? Well, Demna. But there are those in my family that have called me Finn. They say it's for my fair hair, but maybe it's for my destiny. And the old man looks at him. I don't know whether to strangle you or take you in my arms. Come here, boy. And he did take the boy in his arms and held him tight, for he knew what it meant to have a destiny, great poet that he was. And he held him at arm's length and said, well, there's nothing more I can teach you now, boy. Your destiny is to go off and find that king, find that Ardri, and tell him who you are, and tell him what you know about your history and about the destiny before you. What I know, said Finn, how will I do it? You just go and live, boy. That's all you need to do is live. But I would guess that in that thumb you burned, there's an awful lot of wisdom. So you get nervous, you feel like you need to know answers in the world. Put that thumb back in your mouth, and you'll have all the wisdom, all the knowledge of this great salmon. And off he went into the world. And there's many more stories about Finn McCool, but they'll be for another day.